Hi everybody. This is my presentation for contemporary English-speaking countries. My name is Cielo Reyes Hirata, and let's get started. These are the countries I choose. Those were Zambia, the Philippines, Tanzania, Samoa, and Lesotho. And in the map, you can see where each country is located. Let's start with Zambia. Zambia history started when the territory was first explored in the 19th century by the English adventurer David Livingstone, who was the first European who arrived at the Victorian Falls. In 1888, Cecil Rhodes obtained concessions from the Indians to explore the mining sites and extract minerals. And that same year, Zambia was incorporated onto the area of economic influence of the English crown. In 1964, Zambia gained its independence and Kenneth Kaunda was proclaimed president, but in the elections of 1999, he was replaced by Frederick Chiluba. The culture of Zambia is based on its music, its singing, because drumming is really popular there during its rituals and ceremonies. They made a lot of basketry, pottery, and unique carvings using bamboo, grass, and papyrus palm leaves. The school system is really poor. It is based on 7 years of primary school, 4 years of secondary school, and 2 years or 3 years of tertiary school or university. The main universities of Zambia are the University of Zambia and the University of Agriculture of Zambia. Its economy is based on the trade of copper because it is the largest African producer of this kind of metal. They also have agriculture and livestock, but the main industry is based on metallurgical. The government, they have a presidential republic. They have a president who is elected every 5 years, and he is the head of state. English, a former colonial language, serves as a common language among educated Zambians. At its independence in 1964, English was declared the national language. But moreover, English is the first language of only 2% of Zambians because most of them, as they can assist to school, they learn everything in some dialects such as Bantu. The Philippines. The Philippines are discovered in 1521 by Europe, but I divided the story in four main parts. The Spanish rule that goes from 1521 to 1898, the American rule from 1898 to 1946, the Japanese occupation from 1941 to 1946, and the Philippine self-rule from 1946 to the present. That means the independence of Philippines. Talking about culture, the culture of the Philippines comprise a blend of traditional Filipino and Spanish Catholic traditions. As you can see during its history, they have a mix of East and West. So they have influence from America and other parts of Asia. They are really oriented to religious, and also most of their celebrations are based or are kind of inspired in the Americans one that we have here. They also have their family as a main pillar of everything. For example, getting divorced is really weird in their culture. The education in Philippines was based in the United States system. um, it is 4 years, and it is 6 years of primary schools, 4 years of secondary school, 4 years of high school. And if you want to get a bachelor degree, you need to study more years. The economy, as it is a industrialized country, they are beginning to grow its sector of operations in manufacture and electronic components. Moreover, they started with the sugarcane and rice exportation. The government. The Philippines is a republic with a presidential form of government where power is equally divided among three branches: executive, legislative, and judicial. The use of language. As you see, they had a lot of influence of Spanish, English, and Asian countries. But under the US occupation and civil regime, English began to be taught in schools. And in 1901, public education used English as the medium of instruction. They were used to taught English with people who were soldiers, who became teachers, called Thomasites. And in 1935, the Constitution added English as an official language between Spanish. But in recent years, they needed to add a cultural language in order to preserve all their cultural heritage. So they choose the Tagalog language to become among English and Spanish an official language. Now let's talk about Tanzania. Tanganyika was colonized first by the Germans in the 1880s, then by the British in the 1990s. But it also served as a military outpost during the World War II. They provide financial help as munitions. But Zanzibar won its independence on December the 1963, and on April 1964, it merged with Tanganyika to form the United Republic of Tanzania. Now it's a multi-party democracy. The culture. Tanzanian culture is a delightful mix of influences with over 120 tribes. They have a lot of festivals such as the Wanyambo Festival, and their culture is Swahili, that is an Arab and African mix. They also have some Asian communities, but most of the tribes inhabit the areas. It's really important to say that Muslim is the main religion that is in Zanzibar, and they normally have a very religious way of living there. The school system. The Tanzanian educational system operates on 7 years of primary school, 4 years of secondary school, 2 years of advanced level. That means that only a few of the Tanzanian people reach the university status, and most of them leave school because they get married, especially women who are still forced to get married before 18. So, talking about its economy, it is a really poor country. They try to base their economy in telecommunication, transportations, finance, and tourism, but they are still very inequitative, and the poverty is reaching very high levels. Also, they have a little of agriculture, but it is difficult to produce in that space because some parts of the year they have shortage of water. The government. It is a republic. They choose a president every 5 years, and they have two vice presidents. The current president is John Magufuli. The use of language. While the national language in Tanzania is Swahili, English is taught along with Swahili. Math and science in primary school, and in secondary schools, students are only taught in English. It's really important to say that in some schools they have the translation of English to Swahili or vice versa in order to teach both languages. Now let's talk a little bit about Samoa. Okay, the story of Samoa started when the Polynesian ancestors arrived there across the Pacific Ocean. During their establishment in those places, there were a long period of time where they were full of battles and fights, because when the colonists tried to arrive, the European people arrived, they invited in order to get to to them with the Christianism, with God. So as the Samoan people tried to refuse to get that religion, they were fighting a lot during a lot of time. Um, in 1899, the island were divided. The island were divided. The Germans took the west and the Americans the east. Western Samoa became the first Pacific nation to gain independence, and in 1997, the nation was known as Western Samoa because they won its title of independent state of Samoa years later. About the culture, they have a very popular phrase. They always say that is Fa Samoa, that it means the Samoan way. It is it was famous because of all the work that they lived. The local cuisine is based on any kind of food that could be made with coconut, especially coconut milk and cream. They tattoo themselves in order to show respect to their ancestors. The weddings could be in both types. Some people prefer to do it to the Catholic way, but the traditional way is with a special ceremony. They also have their own version of cricket, which is called kilikiti, and they have a dance with fire knives, and it's called Sibaafi. According to their education system, they have private schools and government schools, but most of the people in Samoa is illiterate because they are more into religion and cultural processes. But they pass their first 4 years taking primary education that is all the basic things, and they sometimes can manage to go to a secondary school to learn a little bit more, but university isn't that common. The economy, they base their economy on agriculture. As you remember, we talk about everything that goes with coconut, especially coconut oil, also some copra, taro, and other kind of plants that can be exported to other countries. The government, uh, they choose an independent parliament republic. They have two great Samoan chiefs. One of them is the head of state, and the other one is more lead to their religion part. The use of language. Samoan is the official language. Moreover, they use English as well to communicate and to make trades and everything more modern. For example, in the primary school, they teach kids their English form, the Samoan form, and how they could pronounce both of them. So they have both as an official language, English and Samoan. They also use Maori, but it is less common. Now let's go to Lesotho. Lesotho's story, it started in 1959 with Basut Holland when it became a British colony. But it gained its full independence from Britain in 1966 and it became as Lesotho. Jonathan Leabua became the prime minister and the constitutional government was restored in 1993 because they were fighting in order to have their own rights because the military rule was so rude with them and didn't give them respect and other normal rights of other countries. The culture, it is based on all rituals and traditions. For example, they have ceremonies where the boys took place as a members of a formal family and their nation. This could be just some kind of religion ceremony, or it could be given something to give that honor, such as maybe money, maybe any kind of food or party celebration to become a man. Their craft work is really important there because it's part of their economy. They do pottery with grass, and they also made some hats. They have musical instruments. One of the most famous is the lisaba, and dances such as the gumboot dance demonstrate the influence of the migrant labor, because most part of the country was made of migrants. The school system, it is also one of the poorest in all Africa, because 4/5 of the population doesn't have access even to basic scholar such as primary school, and most of the schools are administered by Christian churches. They have two main universities, which are the National University of Lesotho and Lesotho Agricultural College. The economy, it relies basically in agriculture, such with things such as maize, wheat, sorghum, fruits, and vegetables. But everything that needs to be taken off earth needs capital, and the country choose to use migrants as a main part of their economy and labor. It's also really important that Lesotho, due to all the shortage of water, gave to some places of South Africa water, drinking water. So that's another little income that they have. The government, they have a constitutional parliamentary monarchy. The prime minister is the one who took all the political decisions, and they figure like the monarchy is like a king, but just like a symbol. It doesn't take decisions in the country. And use of language, except of English, all the main language spoken in Lesotho are members of the Niger-Congo language family. Soto, Bantu language, English is spoken by the majority of the population. Even both Soto and English are official language in the country. Zulu is also spoken but by a small amount of people, a minority, and they have another dialect. But due to the colonization, they use English. And that's all. Thank you so much for your attention. And I hope that this keep your attention in order to look for more information of these countries, because it's really interesting, and it was kind of difficult for me to find reliable information of these countries. And it's a little bit sad talking about education in everyone in each country, because I would like to find a little bit more, but I hope more studies will be developed later. So thanks for your attention, and goodbye.